As it's me, it's Queen Heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Now, I wanted to tell you, those of you who want to send in questions for Ask an Aquarius, number one, they need to be general questions. What is a general question? A general question is, why are Aquarius so irritated? Or should I have a threesome with my boyfriend and his friend? Or why do Aquarius always act so eccentric? Those are general questions. Questions like, is the baby mine? Why didn't my cousin Pookie come back last week? Or things like that are personal questions. For personal questions, you're going to have to get a reading. Okay? General questions I answer for free. Other questions you need a reading for. Another thing, when you write to me for a general question or for a reading, please make your letter as short as possible. The ones that are one paragraph or less are the ones I'm able to read quickly and answer immediately. I have like 5 letters that are 3 or 4 pages long. And every day I read about a paragraph of them. And one of them I've had for like a month, and I've had to read several times because I'm like, huh? And I had to read it again. So I am not able to answer long letters quickly. I'm able to answer them, but not quickly. So if you want a fast response, give me the shortest, most concise version of what your issue is. Okay? All right. Now, I got a letter from a woman, and she told me that she is an Aries and her man is a Virgo with an Aquarius moon. And for those of y'all who know anything about astrology, this is a pretty interesting combination because they're both constantly thinking. Virgo and Aquarius constantly thinking, constantly in their head. So she said that he is not very affectionate, and she wants him to be more affectionate. She needs that, she needs to feel that he loves her. So she wanted me to tell her, what do I think? I think you have 2 problems. The first problem you have is that you're dealing with somebody who isn't exactly aware of how to communicate. So you have to communicate to him that this is an issue, it's a serious issue, and it's an issue you want a resolution to. That's number 1. So I would tell him, this is how I feel when you do this or don't do this, and this is what I would rather you do. Now, because of the fact that he is an intellectual kind of being, another thing that you need to do is the other half of the problem. You two have different, what we call love languages. He told you that he shows love in different ways. He has a different love language. What is a love language? Well, there's a book. It's called The 5 Love Languages by a gentleman named Chapman. Chapman says that we all give and receive love in a different way. When we finish with this video, I'll even put a link to Chapman's book. You and him need to read this book because this book will tell you how to identify, because you'll take a little quiz on it. You will identify each other's love languages, and you will figure out how to love each other in those ways. This is a very big problem that I see with a lot of couples. I see it with men and women, but I see it a lot with men. For some reason, men, when there's a problem in the relationship, don't want to work on the problem. The woman will keep saying, babe, we got a problem, babe, we got a problem. And the man will keep saying, okay, but not really addressing the problem. So in this case, he's an intellectual. So we're going to use the book to show him what the problem is up here, which would be easier for him as far as communication is concerned. So if he loves you and he's willing to work on the issue, I would give him that book. Christmas is coming up. I would give him that book, and I would say, babe, let's read this together and discuss it. And if he cares about you, if he wants to continue the relationship, this is what he'll do. Because according to the book, a person who's love-starved is not going to stay in a relationship. And this is something that he needs to understand. He is in a relationship that he is sabotaging because eventually everything is going to fall apart if he doesn't give the love that you want. You're not going to stay with a person who's not giving you the love you want. You're going to start looking elsewhere. That's the bottom line. Eventually, if you haven't already, you're going to start looking elsewhere for somebody who loves you, or who seems like they're going to love you in the way that your love language is looking for. So, what is love language? One thing for love language is there are 5 different things. I remember one was gift giving, because that's my top one. My number one love language is gift giving. I love giving and receiving gifts. That's my number one. If somebody doesn't give me gifts, I don't really feel the love from them. And I think that's weird, but it could be because my mom always gave us gifts. That could be why. That's the one I remember. Also, with love language, there's touch. Some people like to be touched. Some people like words of affirmation. So those are 3 of the languages I remember. And you have to give someone love in their language. You can't just say, I'm going to show you love the way that I think love is. For example, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I can't just keep giving them gifts. Because that's me. I can't just keep giving them gifts and thinking that's going to show them love. Because they're going to be like, well, if that's not their love language, they're going to be like, well, I want time with you. I want affection from you. I want to hold your hand. I want to go out. I want other things. What they're saying is that their love language is different than mine. And it would behoove me to figure out what their love language is and give them love in that way. Because like I said, if he keeps on giving you love in the way that he gives love that's not satisfying to you, you're never going to feel the love. Even though he's trying to give it. In his mind, he's giving love. But you're not going to feel it because it's not coming across in the language that you speak. He has to speak to you in your love language, and you have to speak to him in his. So I would suggest getting that book. I would suggest reading it and working through it together. If he really loves you and wants to keep this relationship, he'll be open to doing so. I've noticed that, like I said before, a lot of men have had a hard time with working on their relationship. But it's 2019 almost, y'all. And look, brothers, I love y'all, but y'all got to step up in those ways. If you have a woman or women who are having problems with this too, because I've seen some women have problems with this, but it's usually men who have a hard time realizing you have to work on your relationship. If things are not good, don't just leave them not good. Work on them. Because what happens is that it causes more problems. It causes infidelities, it causes divorces, breakups, all because you wouldn't take the time to work on your relationship. So if you care about the relationship, if you really want the relationship, work on it. And if you don't want it, leave it. If you're with somebody you don't want to be with, then go. Kiss the curb. Keep it moving, Don't just stay with a person because it's easy. Stay with somebody that you really care about. Okay? So that's the issue with your problem. You have a communication issue and you have a love language issue. Once you communicate the problem in a way that he understands it, then I would try to use the book. Okay? And I would seriously do it together. It's not a long book. I read that book in like a day. It's not a long book at all. But it explains a lot. And it's done by a gentleman who I believe is a therapist or who does therapy, couples therapy. So he has a lot of insight into this particular issue. So if I were you, that's what I would do. You have to work on this relationship or you're going to be kissing it goodbye. See you later.